The Wonder of Sweets by R. K. Narayan. Chapter 4. Peace reigned at home with speech reduced to a minimum between father and son. Mali seemed to have brightened up at the fact that he wouldn't be expected to study. Chagan continued to feel gratified that his son was pursuing a fresh course, all his own. Instead of reading other people's books, he's providing reading for others. He often reflected with a lot of pride. He is doing a service in his own way. When he remembered the word service, any activity became touched with significance. Service intoxicated him, sent a thrill through his whole being, and explained everything. The first time he had heard the word as in 1937 when Mahatma Gandhi visited Malgudi and had addressed a vast gathering on the sands of the river. He spoke of service, explaining how every human action acquired a meaning when it was performed as a service. Inspired by the definition, Jagan joined the movement for freeing India from foreign rule, gave up his studies, home, and normal life, and violated the British laws of the time. Neither the beatings from the police nor the successive periods of prison life ever touched him when he remembered that he was performing a service. Everyone should be free to serve humanity in his own way, he told himself, and Mali is really helping mankind with his writing. What does he really write? He often wondered. Stories? What sort of stories? Poems? Or did he write philosophy? He did a passing misgiving about his son's experience of life, his equipment to be a writer. He had uneasy thoughts sometimes when he sat on his throne in the shop looking at the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. However profound the lines before him, his own thoughts seemed to be stronger, capable of pushing aside all philosophy while revolving around the subject of Mali's manuscript. He wanted to know which language his son's muses accepted, whether Tamil or English. If he wrote in Tamil, he would be recognized at home. If in English, he would be known in other countries too. But did he know enough English, Tamil, or any language? He felt worried. His mind was racked with questions. The simplest solution of questioning Mali directly seemed impracticable. What would they discuss? Mali seemed to have become detached, more detached than ever. The only link between them was the 5 rupee currency note that he left on the hall table every morning and checked later to find out if it had been accepted. Perhaps the boy lunched and dined at Anand Bhavan. It was galling to think that his money should find its way into the cash desk. It could not be helped. It was supposed to be the best restaurant in the town, but Jagan knew that they did not use pure ghee but hydrogenated vegetable oil in unlabeled tins. They were naive enough to think that if the tins were unlabeled, the public would take them to be real butter. It was long, but 30th of September, and Jagan would have given anything to know if the manuscript had gone off, but there had been no sign of it anywhere. The boy's movements were so finely adjusted out of his own orbit that, though they lived under one roof, they might be in two different worlds. Then he saw the light through the chick in the door. Jagan knew that the boy was in the room. He dared not knock on it. Rarely did they ever reach home at the same time, so that there were no chance of their meeting in the hall. Jagan felt harrowed by the lack of information. When the cousin arrived at his appointed time, he found Jagan looking so restless that he felt constrained to remark as he emerged from the kitchen. You are blessed with every gift of life, with what 90 out of 100 people crave for: money. And with what 100 out of 100 do not attain: contentment. Yet you have not mastered one thing. That's the art of looking happy. You are always looking careworn. If one looks worn out of cares, God knows one must have sufficient cause. Do you see Mali at all? Not much, no, no. Long ago I saw him on a cycle one afternoon in Vineyard Street. Don't ask me what I was doing there. I generally go even further than that when I have some work, always in the service of someone else. You may be sure I do nothing for myself. Did he speak to you? Of course not. He was riding a bicycle, I told you. What was he doing so far away? Why not ask him? Asked the cousin. He won't answer, that's all, said Jagan. Have you tried? No. Then try. He may resent the question and think I'm interfering. If I meet him, I'll find out, if you like. Please don't. He'll think I have sent you to him. Of course, I'll tell him that I'm talking for you. Jagan looked scared on hearing this. Sweat broke out on his brow. The cousin could not help remarking, You puzzle me. Why are you frightened? I hate to upset him, that's all. I have never upset him in all my life. That means you have carried things to a point where you cannot speak to him at all. It's not that, said Jagan, not willing to accept this wave. Can you tell me when you had your last conversation with him? There was a pause while Jagan threw his mind back. The cousin watched him ruthlessly, gently sucking the sweet on his tongue. Jagan remembered that their last speech had been 3.5 months ago. He had been reading the paper in the hall, and his son had come out of his room. Ready to go out? That had terrified Jagan, and at once he had covered up any hint of inquisitiveness. Did you see today's paper? No. Don't you want to? Nothing in it for me. The boy had walked across the hall. Jagan could hear the cycle being taken off its spring stand and the front door slamming. He sat still with his eyes glued to the newspaper. God be thanked that there is no direct exit from his room to the street as my father once foolishly planned. Otherwise, I'd have lost the memory of my son's identity long ago. Reporting this meeting to the cousin was out of the question, so he said, The trouble is our hours are so different. By the time I open my eyes from prayer, he's gone. It's been a time-honored custom in our house not to disturb me when I'm praying. But that's all beside the point. We are straying away from the subject. I want you to help me. Please find out, as if you were doing it on your own, where he goes every day and what happened to the story. Try to meet him and give me some information, please. I'll be grateful for your help. No, no, it's my duty to be of service to you. Don't thank me. I'll see what I can do in my humble way. He swelled with the importance and the weight of the undertaking. Jagan felt relieved. The cousin came back 4 days later, took his seat beside the throne and said, New things are coming your way. Your son wants to go to America. Didn't I hint to you long ago that it was coming? The first shock of that impact blanked out Jagan's mind for a time, and he caught his breath as he had a momentary panic at the thought of his son's removing himself so far geographically. He insanely repeated America? Why America? What has happened to his book? Has he written it? Hasn't he written it? He thinks he will have to learn the art in America. Jagan was furious at this notion. It was outrageous and hurt his national pride. Going there to learn storytelling? He should rather go to a village granny, he said, all his patriotic sentiments surging. Exactly what I told him, echoed the cousin. Did Valmiki go to America or Germany in order to learn to write his Ramayana? Asked Jagan with pugnacity. Strange notions these boys get nowadays, he said, avoiding gently any specific reference to his son. The head cook interrupted at this point, bringing in the flavor of kitchen smoke in order to announce, "Saffron stock out will last only another day." Jagan looked at him bemusedly, not able to grasp the subject clearly. The cousin answered for him and promised to arrange for a fresh supply. When the cook retreated into the kitchen, Jagan asked, "Have you found out where he spends his day?" "At the town public library." "Where is it?" asked Jagan, never having dreamt that his town possessed a library. The cousin himself was not sure and flourished his arms vaguely in the direction of the river. "Must be one of those things for which a foundation stone is laid whenever a minister visits this town." "I'd have known about it if it had been a thing of any importance. Anyway, do they let him live there?" "He seems to like it, and does some amount of work there." "What sort of work?" asked Jagan, appalled at the notion that Mali should have become a library assistant of all things. "What has happened to his book?" he asked desperately. "He will write it in America," said the cousin. Jagan felt completely crushed. Adverse forces seemed to hem him in on all sides. What has America to do with writing his book? He has read in one of the magazines at the library about a college where they teach novel writing. Jagan once again felt like bursting out about Valmiki or a village granny, but restrained himself. What happened to the prize? "Perhaps it's gone. He hasn't written the book yet," said the cousin. "Anyway, a book cannot be rushed." "True, true," said Jagan, suddenly remembering his son's words the other night, but added as his own contribution to the theory of writing, "Still, I suppose a book has to be written." They spent a little time brooding over the mechanics of book production. "Why America?" asked Jagan, ignoring the installment of cash that was brought in, while the cousin made no effort to leave. "Because perhaps it's the only country where they teach such things. They eat only beef and pork in that country. I used to know a man from America and he told me. They also drink a lot of intoxicating drinks, never water or milk," said the cousin, contributing his own bit of information. "And their women are free," he added. "I have seen some of their magazines about films. Their women mix freely with men and snap off marriages without order and bask in the sun without clothes." "Where did you see all this?" asked Jagan, and did not note the answer from the cousin, who flourished his arms vaguely. Jagan went on. "It may not all be true. Not wishing to think a country to which Mali was going was one of corrupt his body with wine, women, and meat, and his soul with other things," he said with a sudden determination. "But it's unthinkable. Mali shall stay here." The cousin smiled cynically. Jagan had a momentary stab of suspicion that this man was at the back of it all. But the doubt passed. The cousin said, "He has made all kinds of preparations. Without my permission or help? Cried Jagan. They have a typewriter at the library, and he has been using it, partly filled with admiration and partly enraged at the library. Jagan shouted suddenly without thinking of what he was saying. If they are going to make use of the library for such nefarious activities, said the cousin, did you know that he had gone to Madras for a few days? No? Without my permission or help? Without telling me anything? I thought he was in his room. He remembered that the 5 rupee note left by him had not been picked up on certain days. Thinking that the boy had been saving, he had withheld the allowance, hoping to be asked. He has fixed his passport and other such things. How is he going to find the fare? He says he has got it. He said he always knew where to find the money in the house. Jagan felt shocked for a moment, but he also felt a sneaking admiration. The boy is very practical, he said with feeling. He sat brooding for some time and then said, trying to put on a happy look, see how self-reliant he has grown. I have always believed in leaving the entry to develop by itself, without relying on extraneous support. As they say in the Gita, every soul is God, and God can always look after himself, added the cousin. That's the whole point, said Jagan. That's why I never wished to interfere when he suddenly decided to end his education. I said to myself, perhaps he wants to educate himself in the school of life, and left him free, echoing various tidbits of banality he had picked up in the course of his life and haphazard reading. The cousin said, exactly my principle in life. I know much about people and their problems and the world. Did I go to a college to learn the art of living? But I'm surprised that he still thinks he can learn the art of writing from an American college. Jagan sniggered gently at the thought. As my good cousin, please try to stop him. I don't know how I can live in that house without him. The very thought depresses me. Yes, I will, said the cousin mechanically, without conviction. But do you know that he has worked out the details minutely? He's getting his American clothes made in Madras. I've always told him to buy a lot of clothes, especially in foreign countries. One must always wear tie and shoes and such things, morning till night. Does he want any sort of help from me? Jagan asked pathetically, almost appealing to the cousin to intercede and do something about it. What can you do? Asked the cousin brutally. I have a friend in Madras, a deputy minister, who was my prison mate in those days in Bellali jail. No harm in trying a friend, but Mali needs no help from us. The librarian has a brother in the aeroplane company, and he has done everything for Mali. Is he going to fly? Asked Jagan, panic-stricken. Who does not nowadays? Jagan almost wept as he said, please tell him to go by the steamer. It's safer. Let him be safe. I don't like aeroplanes. He has almost paid for the air ticket, said the cousin, enjoying Jagan's predicament. It must be very costly, said Jagan, like a prattling baby. But he has doubtless found the cash for it, said the cousin. Naturally. What is the cash worth to me? It's all for him. He can have everything he wants, said Jagan, making a knot mentally to count at the earliest moment his cash hoarded in the loft. He also considered transferring it all, in due course, to a casket behind the family gods in the puja room. in the dead of night. He put up the ladder and climbed to the loft. About 10,000 rupees had been extracted from the Binal currency. He made a rough and ready calculation, about 4 or 5,000 rupees for passage and the balance for clothes and other things. He should ask for more if he wants it, and, of course, a monthly remittance later. Why should he not? He heard the front door opening, put out the torch, and sat still until he felt sure that Mali had safely locked himself in, feeling like a burglar himself, instead of one of whose cash had been extracted. End of chapter 4.